Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the ocean you've admired your whole life, the same turquoise water that tourists travel across the world to see, has swallowed half your street. Imagine the place where you played as a child, where your grandparents built their home, vanishing under waves that keep inching closer each year. This isn't a nightmare or a distant prophecy. It's the slow, painful reality unfolding across Jamaica, a paradise that's quietly sinking. For decades, Jamaica's identity has been tied to its coastline, the golden sands of Negril, the bustling shores of Montego Bay, the historic charm of Port Royal. These places are more than tourist attractions. They're the soul of the island, the source of its economy, and the foundation of its culture. But scientists now warn that by the end of this century, large portions of these areas could be underwater. Sea levels are projected to rise by up to 3 feet before 2100, and that's under moderate predictions. For an island like Jamaica, that's catastrophic. The story of rising seas isn't new. The world has seen it play out before in the Maldives, in Bangladesh, in Pacific Island nations now preparing to relocate entire populations. But in Jamaica, the clock seems to be ticking faster than expected. The reason? A combination of global warming and local environmental mismanagement. Let's break it down. Glaciers in Antarctica and Greenland are melting at record speeds, releasing billions of tons of fresh water into the oceans. Warmer temperatures cause seawater to expand, a process scientists call thermal expansion. It's like heating soup on a stove. The hotter it gets, the more it spreads. These two forces, melting ice and expanding water, are raising global sea levels faster than at any time in modern history. Now add Jamaica's own vulnerabilities to the mix. Coastal mangroves, once the island's natural shield against storm surges, are being cleared for hotels, housing, and other developments. Those mangroves don't just protect the land. They also absorb carbon dioxide, helping regulate the planet's temperature. But when they're destroyed, all that trapped carbon is released back into the atmosphere, worsening global warming. It's a vicious cycle, and Jamaica is caught right in the middle. If you want to see what climate change looks like in real life, go to Negril. The town's world-famous 7-mile beach has been losing half a meter of sand every single year. Some sections that were once wide enough for beach football are now narrow strips of land barely holding on against the waves. Hotels are spending millions trying to reinforce their shorelines with sandbags and seawalls, but it's a losing battle. The sea is advancing, and there's no pause button. The same story unfolds underwater. Jamaica's coral reefs, once vibrant with color and life, are now ghostly white. These reefs used to attract thousands of divers and snorkelers each year, contributing millions to the local economy. But since the 1960s, more than 80% of them have died. The causes? Warmer waters, pollution, and overfishing. Without reefs to break the waves, the coastline erodes faster and storms hit harder. In small fishing villages like Old Harbor Bay, residents can already measure the crisis by sight. Coconut trees that once stood far from the water now grow half-submerged. Homes built generations ago are being abandoned as the sea claims more land. Fishermen say the tides now reach places they never used to, a slow but relentless invasion. This isn't the future. It's happening now. Jamaica's government knows what's coming. Matthew Samuda, Minister of Climate Change, has sounded the alarm repeatedly, calling the crisis an existential threat. Over the past decade, Jamaica has faced not only rising seas, but also record droughts, erratic rainfall, and saltwater contamination. Wells that once provided clean drinking water now taste brackish. Farmlands near the coast are turning barren because salt seeps into the soil, making it impossible for crops to grow. Rising temperatures have also made life harder in other ways. Power demand has surged as people rely more on air conditioning. Mosquito-borne diseases like dengue and chikungunya spread faster in warmer conditions. And every hurricane season brings new anxiety. While Jamaica has been lucky to avoid the direct hits seen in nearby islands, scientists warn that it's only a matter of time. The 2024 Hurricane Beryl served as a wake-up call. intensifying from a tropical storm to a Category 5 monster in record time because of abnormally warm waters. That rapid intensification, experts say, is becoming the new normal. It's easy to think of coral reefs as pretty decorations beneath the sea, but for islands like Jamaica, they are life insurance. Reefs act as natural breakwaters, absorbing wave energy and preventing erosion. When they die, the waves strike the shore with brutal force. In the 1960s, Jamaica had some of the healthiest coral ecosystems in the Caribbean. Today, it ranks among the most degraded. Coral bleaching, triggered by rising ocean temperatures and pollution, has stripped them of their color and life. Environmental experts like Dr. Elena Jones, an international disaster management consultant, warn that Jamaica's coastline is now exposed in ways unseen in decades. Overdevelopment near beaches, weak environmental enforcement, and the destruction of mangroves have erased the island's natural defenses. Even minor storms now cause major damage. It's not just nature collapsing. It's the foundation of Jamaica's economy and culture breaking apart. Let's talk about money, because this isn't just an environmental issue. It's an economic one. Tourism accounts for nearly 9% of Jamaica's GDP and employs hundreds of thousands of people, directly and indirectly. Every disappearing beach is a blow to the nation's financial heart. Imagine an island without its beaches. How would it sell paradise to the world? The numbers paint a grim picture. Each year, erosion costs Jamaica millions in lost tourism revenue and infrastructure repairs. The government has already spent tens of millions on artificial reef projects, beach replenishment, and flood control, but these are temporary fixes. Without a long-term solution, hotels may close, investors may pull out, and communities that depend on tourism could collapse entirely. Agriculture faces a similar struggle. Crops like sugarcane, coffee, and bananas, the pride of Jamaica's agricultural heritage, are faltering under new weather patterns. Prolonged droughts alternate with intense rainfall, destroying harvests. Saltwater intrusion poisons the soil, leaving farmers helpless. Food imports are rising, and with global inflation, prices keep climbing, stretching families to their limits. But beyond the economy lies the human story. Families who have lived on the same land for generations are being forced to move inland. This migration isn't just physical, it's emotional. People are leaving behind ancestral homes, traditions, and cemeteries. Entire communities are watching their history disappear under the tide. As one fisherman put it, the sea doesn't just take land, it takes memories. Here's the cruel irony. Jamaica is one of the least responsible nations for global warming. Its total greenhouse gas emissions are a drop in the ocean compared to industrial giants like the United States, China, or Russia. Yet it's Jamaica, along with other small island nations, that faces the most devastating consequences. This imbalance is known as climate injustice. Wealthy nations built their prosperity through centuries of industrialization, burning coal, oil, and gas. Now, the pollution they created is drowning the homes of those who contributed least to the problem. Global conferences and summits are filled with speeches about climate aid and adaptation funds, but the reality on the ground tells a different story. Money arrives late or not at all, leaving vulnerable countries like Jamaica to fend for themselves. Jamaica has been calling for stronger global accountability, pushing for climate reparations and faster disbursement of adaptation funds. But bureaucracy moves slower than the tide. Meanwhile, the waves keep advancing. And if the world doesn't act, this isn't just Jamaica's problem. Rising seas threaten major cities too. Miami, New York, London, and Shanghai are all at risk. The displacement of millions from sinking islands could trigger one of the largest refugee crises in history. Still, amidst all the fear and loss, hope flickers. Jamaica has never been a nation that gives up. Its people have faced slavery, colonialism, and economic hardship, and emerged stronger every time. That same spirit is rising again in the fight against climate change. The government and local organizations are pushing back through innovation. Projects like the Restoration of Coastal Ecosystems Program, are replanting mangroves across key coastal areas. Scientists at the University of the West Indies are experimenting with coral nurseries, underwater farms that grow and reattach corals to revive dying reefs. Renewable energy is another beacon of progress. Jamaica has committed to producing 50% of its electricity from solar and wind power by 2030, one of the most ambitious goals in the Caribbean. There's also a growing movement toward ecotourism. Instead of traditional resorts that harm the environment, new businesses are focusing on sustainability, from plastic-free hotels to guided reef conservation tours. Tourists are beginning to see value not just in Jamaica's beauty, but in its resilience and environmental consciousness. This could mark the beginning of a new economic model, one that values preservation over exploitation. The message is simple but urgent. The time for debate is over. Jamaica doesn't have decades to wait. Every year of inaction means more land lost, more livelihoods destroyed, and more cultural heritage washed away. What's at stake is not just the coastline, but the very identity of the island. This isn't just about saving beaches. It's about protecting people, their history, their dignity, and their future. The fate of countries like Tuvalu, which may become the first to disappear entirely beneath the waves, should serve as a stark warning. If the global community fails to act decisively, Jamaica could follow that same path. But Jamaicans are not waiting for pity or permission. They are mobilizing, planting, rebuilding, innovating. The rising tide may be inevitable, but so is their determination. The final question remains: will the world stand with them, or will it watch from the sidelines as paradise sinks? Because the tide is rising, but so can we. The ocean has always been Jamaica's greatest gift and its greatest threat. It brought explorers, traders, and tourists. It fed generations of fishermen and inspired poets and musicians. But now, that same ocean is becoming the nation's most relentless adversary. And in this battle for survival, Jamaica must decide whether to adapt, transform, or sink beneath the waves of history. To understand how things got this bad, we need to look at how progress itself has played a role. For decades, development was seen as the key to prosperity. Resorts, highways, and waterfront real estate projects were hailed as symbols of growth. Yet in the rush to modernize, Jamaica often overlooked environmental balance. Mangrove forests were cut down to make room for hotels. Wetlands were filled to build parking lots. Rivers were diverted, and coral reefs were damaged by construction runoff and untreated sewage. The irony is that these short-term projects, meant to boost the economy, have now weakened the island's natural defenses. Each mangrove removed made storms more destructive. Each coral reef lost made the coastline more fragile. In trying to build prosperity, Jamaica accidentally dismantled the very ecosystems that could have saved it from disaster. Today, the country faces a difficult truth. Economic growth and environmental sustainability are not enemies. They must coexist. Without one, the other cannot survive. That's why Jamaica's next chapter depends on redefining what development really means. When most people think of climate change, they imagine melting ice caps or distant polar bears. But in Jamaica, climate change has a face. The farmer watching his crops fail after a prolonged drought. The hotel owner watching the beach retreat meter by meter. The fisherman who returns with smaller catches each year because rising sea temperatures are driving fish away. Jamaica's Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation recently warned that climate-related disasters could cost the country up to 10% of its GDP annually by 2050 if urgent action isn't taken. That's not just a number. It's a potential collapse of the nation's economy. The government's 2022 Climate Vulnerability Assessment revealed that nearly 60% of Jamaica's population lives within 5 kilometers of the coast, directly in harm's way if sea levels continue to rise. For many coastal communities, relocation isn't just an option, it's becoming a necessity. Areas like Port Royal, famously known as the wickedest city on Earth before being swallowed by an earthquake and tsunami in 1692, now face another existential threat. This time, it's not sudden, it's slow, steady, and unstoppable unless global action intervenes. Behind every statistic is a human story. Take the small fishing village of Rocky Point in Clarendon. For generations, families here have lived by the rhythm of the sea. But in recent years, the tides have changed, literally. Houses that once stood a safe distance from the water now sit on eroded land. Children play where roads used to be. Each storm pushes the shoreline further inland. And with every passing year, residents are forced to rebuild or move again. Local fisherman Patrick Grant describes it with quiet despair. The sea used to be our blessing. Now it's our enemy. We build, and it takes it back. We plant, and the salt kills it. What can we do but pray and start again? His words echo the emotional toll climate change inflicts. It's not just homes and livelihoods being lost. It's dignity, belonging, and identity. Communities that once thrived are now struggling to hold on to their way of life. This is what scientists call slow displacement, when people are forced to move not because of one disaster, but because their environment becomes unlivable over time. Despite the heartbreak, Jamaica isn't surrendering. Across the island, scientists, innovators, and communities are rewriting the playbook on survival. One of the most promising initiatives is the restoration of mangroves through community-led reforestation. The Jamaica Environment Trust and several NGOs are partnering with locals to plant new mangrove seedlings along vulnerable coastlines. Each new mangrove acts like a soldier in nature's defense. Its roots trap sediment, slow erosion, and absorb storm energy. The results are already visible. In some restored areas, erosion has slowed significantly, and marine life is returning. Another remarkable effort is happening underwater. The Alligator Head Foundation in Portland is pioneering coral restoration projects using coral nurseries. These structures grow small coral fragments that are later transplanted back into damaged reefs. Over time, they help revive ecosystems that once seemed beyond repair. It's slow work, but it's working. Divers report seeing fish species return to areas that were once barren. Then there's renewable energy, perhaps Jamaica's most powerful long-term weapon. The Wigton Wind Farm, the largest in the English-speaking Caribbean, already produces enough energy to power tens of thousands of homes. Solar installations are expanding rapidly, especially in schools, hospitals, and rural communities. These projects reduce dependence on imported oil, cut emissions, and empower local economies. The vision is clear. Energy independence and environmental resilience go hand in hand. But infrastructure alone won't save Jamaica. The real transformation must happen in people's minds. Environmental education is becoming a national priority. Schools are introducing climate awareness programs, teaching children about renewable energy, recycling, and the importance of conservation. In some communities, fishermen are being retrained to become eco-tour guides, combining their traditional knowledge with modern environmental practices. The University of the West Indies has also launched research programs focused on sustainable agriculture, testing salt-tolerant crops, drip irrigation, and hydroponics to combat soil degradation and water scarcity. These innovations could reshape Jamaica's food security in a changing climate. Public campaigns, too, are gaining momentum. The slogan, "Save D Beach, Save Y Future," has become a rallying cry across social media and community groups. It's more than a message. It's a movement that reflects Jamaica's fighting spirit. Because for this island, climate action isn't just science, it's survival. Jamaica is not fighting this war alone. Through regional bodies like CARICOM and alliances such as the Alliance of Small Island States, AOSIS, the country is demanding global accountability. At international summits like COP28, Jamaican delegates have called for stronger commitments from industrialized nations to honor climate finance promises. The target is clear: $100 billion a year in funding for developing nations, money meant to build sea defenses, transition to renewables, and support climate adaptation. But the reality is sobering. Funds arrive slowly, tangled in red tape, and often cover only a fraction of what's needed. In the meantime, Jamaica and other small island states continue to bear the brunt. As one Jamaican climate advocate put it during a UN forum, We are paying with our coastlines for emissions we did not create. Still, Jamaica's diplomatic voice carries weight. The country is positioning itself as a regional leader in climate policy, often representing Caribbean interests on the global stage. Its message is clear. If the world doesn't act for moral reasons, it must act for practical ones. Because when small islands sink, global systems, trade, migration, and security all feel the ripple effect. To stay ahead, Jamaica is also betting on innovation. The country is exploring digital solutions like satellite mapping and early warning systems to track coastal erosion and storm threats in real time. Drones are being used to monitor mangrove growth and reef health. Smart agriculture, using sensors to manage soil moisture and temperature, is helping farmers adapt to unpredictable weather. International investors are starting to take notice. The World Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, and the European Union are all funding climate resilience projects. Private companies are joining too, investing in green startups and sustainable infrastructure. Jamaica's potential as a green economy hub for the Caribbean is becoming increasingly evident. The question is no longer whether climate change will reshape Jamaica, but whether Jamaica can use that change to reshape its destiny. What's perhaps most inspiring is how Jamaica is merging its cultural pride with environmental action. Artists, musicians, and influencers are using their platforms to raise awareness about climate issues. Reggae festivals now include eco-awareness segments. Local artisans are turning recycled materials into art. Even Rastafarian communities, long advocates for living in harmony with nature, are finding renewed purpose in this fight. The movement isn't just about saving nature. It's about redefining what it means to be Jamaican in the 21st century. It's about honoring the past while building a future that the next generation can actually live to see. Jamaica's struggle is not an isolated one. It's a warning to the world. What's happening here is a glimpse of what coastal cities everywhere may face in the coming decades. The difference is that Jamaica, with its limited resources, has no room for denial or delay. Its survival depends on immediate action, creativity, and unity. And that's what makes the Jamaican story so powerful. It's not a tale of despair, but of defiance. Against all odds, this small island is refusing to bow to the tide. It's rewriting the narrative, turning vulnerability into leadership and crisis into opportunity. That's something the entire world can learn from. In the end, the rising sea is more than a threat. It's a mirror reflecting humanity's choices. Will we continue to consume recklessly, pollute endlessly, and ignore the consequences? Or will we finally change course, learning from nations like Jamaica that are doing everything they can to adapt with dignity? Jamaica's fight is a global fight. When one island falls, the rest of the world feels the wave. When one nation stands, it gives others the courage to do the same. So, as the tide rises, the question remains, not whether Jamaica will survive, but whether we, as a global community, will rise with it. Because the sea is relentless, but so is the spirit of Jamaica. And if there's one lesson this island has always taught the world, it's that even the smallest voice can echo across oceans. The battle for Jamaica's future has begun, and the world is watching. If you believe this story deserves to be heard, share it. Talk about it. Take action. Because saving Jamaica isn't just about protecting a paradise. It's about protecting our planet. And remember, the tide is rising, but so can we.